I went, man, I ain't even had the money to buy a camera. I sold my iPad on Craigslist.
Wow.
Turned around, bought a camera, didn't even know what I was doing. I was like literally sitting in the studio, like Googling it, trying to figure it out. And man, just from that point on, like literally like a couple of weeks later, because New Orleans is so small and like if you know the right people, it can happen. And so a guy by the name of Nesby Phipps, who I really kind of credit as like one of my mentors.
Wow.
He was really on the cusp of like that YouTube age and all of that stuff. He was working with an agency called Creative Control, and they were shooting all these like amazing music videos. So he kind of like, I had known him just through some other things. And so he kind of like started to take me under his wing and taught me like how to shoot B-roll and how to look at the world and things like that. And so he started just giving me opportunities. And so one day he called and he was like, hey man, Lil Wayne and Birdman and Cash Money, they're passing out turkeys for Thanksgiving. Do you want to go shoot it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so like next thing you know, I'm like 2 months in on a camera and I'm like filming for Cash Money and Lil Wayne, and like Lil Wayne's like as close as you are to me, and I'm shooting all this stuff and I'm getting all this footage, and then I'm meeting all of these people, and then and it just, from there it just progressed. And that was where I was like, man, I could really, I'm like, if I can get in these positions and I'm 2 months in and can barely even work this camera, like what can happen if I put my mind to it? And then as that progressed, man, I just kept doing music videos, ended up getting a video on 106 in Park. For the people that remember 106 in Park.
106, bro. Hey, look, for y'all who don't remember 106 in Park, you just go on YouTube, bro.
Yeah, like listen,
top 10.
Listen, now I'm a part of history and culture with that, man, because that is, yeah, man. So we had a video, artist by the name of LG, he did a song with Currency. We had a video that played on 106 in Park, had a video that played on MTV Jams. And so like from that point on, it was like, no matter what, man, like nobody can tell me nothing. Like I know if I can do this with where I am right now, and I'm just working off of like raw talent and stuff that I basically just picked up the camera and learned from YouTube, learned from people that were around me asking questions. I was like, man, if I really put my mind to it, we can do this.
Pop out in it all black, pull up looking like the Chalo. All of y'all weak, if you need a 16, all you gotta do is hollow. I don't really slide through the functions, unless I wanna spend a little peso. Finna put my devils on the payroll. What you been to Jesus today, From the north, so it's only right I get on these beats and I should
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Look, I want to officially welcome y'all back to Perspective, y'all. We're kicking off season 3 in a big way. I got my man Kerry Lofton with me today. I'm your host, Tyrell Patterson. As y'all know, Perspective is a place where you and I, we learn life-changing perspectives to impact and change the world around us. That's the mission and the vision of the space, the community you're a part of, and we officially want to welcome you guys. Yo, so today, y'all, I have an amazing guest and a bro of mine, creative genius, brilliant mind, my boy Kerry Lofton in the building. What's going on, Kerry? How you doing?
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me, bro.
Man, I had to. We've been talking about it for some time, man. So I'm glad to have you on, man.
Absolutely.
But make sure you guys like, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you share this with a friend, anybody in the creative space or anybody who's an entrepreneur just trying to grow holistically this year. So yo, bro, before we get started, I gotta ask you, give me some tracks off like a current playlist right now. What's on rotation?
Man, right now I've been real heavy into like these DJ mixes. So there's a guy by the name of Joe K. He does a radio playlist called Selection every Sunday on Apple Music. And it's just like, it's like house music. There's like some reggae vibes in there. He'll like mix in some like rap tracks and stuff like that. And so he's like 570 plus episodes deep in this radio show. It's dope, man. He goes all over, does these shows, and like just basically plays these like 2 or 3 hour mixes, man. So like I'll just put on like a Selection radio, man, and just like let it run while in the background while I'm working I'm just around the house or while I'm riding and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I've been heavy into some old school R&B, man. I was jamming some Jill Scott the other day.
Hey,
man.
let's go.
It's kind of eclectic, man. Just depending on the day you catch me. You never know what I might be listening to. That's
what's up, bro. When you said Jill Scott, it reminded me of, there's a track I've been listening to by Common. I forget the name of it. I'll probably drop it, but man, I always have it on repeat. The kick and the drums, and I love how like just the sound and everything blends. But and then chill hop. So all my tracks. So by the way, y'all, if you're wondering where I get all my music from, uncopyrighted music is from Chill Hop. So there's a secret for you. There's a production secret for you. If you're looking for great instrumentals to throw behind y'all's work or just videos, Chill Hop is where I get all my tracks.
I'm gonna have to add that to the list.
Chill Hop lo-fi music is something that, you know, whether you're studying, reading, they have like a 24-hour stream on YouTube as well. It's under Chill Hop.
So you would love Selection because it's right in those vibes of that. Like he just let the music run. You ain't got to think about it. You got 2.5 hours of like just dope mixed music, man. So
that's what's up. That's fire, bro. Tell me some of your inspirations for just like cinema, your line of work. Just what are some of your inspirations?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Heavy. Watch a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. That's always like the biggest thing for me. It's funny because sometimes I wish I could like turn that part of my brain off, and just enjoy a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy because it's like I'll be sitting there and be like, yo, like, oh, look at the coloring on that shot, or like look at this, or like look at that. And like what's crazy is like my wife has started doing it too. So like she's picked up on like she's picking up on like little production cues and stuff like that. So you know, I just can't really help it. So like for me, like story is king, writing is king. I could tell like when, you know, a movie or a show has like bad writing and like I don't care what else is like involved, it just turns me off. So like, man, like obviously I'm big on Snowfall right now.
Okay, yes, bro, it's written very well.
Written very well. Man, I don't know if people realize the shift that happened between like around season 3 or 4, like in the cinematography. So there's a really talented black cinematographer. His name's Tommy Maddox Upshaw, who has been DPing the whole thing, man. And like just another big thing for me is like the psychology behind film. So like he'll post on Instagram like his reasoning for like why a light was colored a certain way or why a shot was framed a certain way. And like it's more than just about like what's happening on the pages and the dialogue and the script. It's about like, oh yeah, like, you know, I put the camera at a low angle because this was a very chaotic moment that was happening in the character's life. So I wanted to like portray that with the camera. And so for me, I just think taking those extra steps when it comes to like creating in your art. I just have the utmost respect for anybody. And that's something that I try to like mimic in all of my work and things like that, as far as like, what am I, like every single thing you do, from whether it's where you place a light to where you place a camera to how you have a person deliver a line is contributing towards story. Story is king. So that's why I'm on like Snowfall. One of my favorite movies is Wolf of Wall Street, man. That's one of the most beautifully shot movies that I've ever seen. Yeah, man, I just watched the Batman, the new Batman. And I had to like issue a public apology on Twitter because I was like, man, don't nobody want to see this movie. Like, don't nobody want to see the boy who played the vampire in Twilight. Like, I was like, this movie, like, cause you know, like,
trash,
cause DC, they've been struggling a little bit, man. And so I just watched it a couple days ago on the plane, man, and I was blown. That's definitely the best movie I've seen this year, and probably one of the best movies I've seen in a while. Like, they did really well, but again, amazing writing, great cinematography, great storytelling. So yeah, man, but I'm a fan of everything, man.
And what was the director's name of Snowfall again, or the DP on that?
Tommy Maddox Upshaw.
Maddox Upshaw.
Yeah, it's like the Maddox. It's like the Maddox on Instagram. But yeah, man, like just
I'm gonna have to check him out.
Love following, and he's a great guy, man. I reached out to him about like he had a post about like mentorship one time, and so I just like shot him a DM and was like, yo, man, like mentor me, and he was like, if you're ever in LA, hit me up. And so it's great because I think that's so important, man. I think especially like for black creatives, once, you know, one of us gets into those doors that are so hard to break down sometimes, it's important that you open up the windows, you open up the back doors, you do whatever you can to get, because there's not enough people that look like us in those spaces. And so it's our responsibility to get in those spaces and to make sure, you may look around and you may be the only person that looks like you, but you have a responsibility to now say, okay, cool, I can start changing it, even if it's with one person, even if it's with, you know, one area, and then that's how it grows.
Man, and when you said a moment ago about it's our responsibility, that's why this space was created. This space was created because I feel like we all live from different experiences in life. We all have different maybe value systems, standards, beliefs, and I feel like where the world, or even America and the Western society has kind of lost its essence is being able to simply respect a difference of perspective, a difference of life experience, so that if we could begin to respect one of those each other's differences, it becomes like a gift exchange. I can never speak from your life experience. You can never speak from mine, but it's a beautiful thing that happens where we all respect and honor each other. Absolutely. And then we start to learn background, we learn the perspective, we learn a certain view, and I feel like those things we can apply to our daily lives. And so from that we can kind of impact people. But man, I want to hop into kind of just like a little bit of like your background, if you could kind of just share a little bit about like, you know, where you came up and then kind of where your inspiration and when you figured out, man, this is something I think I want to do for like my life.
Absolutely, man. So I'm from New Orleans. A lot of people don't realize it, and then when I tell them I'm from New Orleans, they're like, oh, I can hear it. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things.
New Orleans, man.
Yeah. So, you know, I feel like I lost, you know, because I lived in Atlanta for a year after Katrina, so I feel like I kind of started to pick up a little bit of that Atlanta twang, and then I moved to Dallas and stuff like that. So I lost a lot of like, it used to be a much heavier like New Orleans accent. So I grew up in New Orleans, man. Lived there, you know, pretty much most of my life, and man, and then, you know, I'd say like as far as like cinematography and video and stuff like that, like it was such a crazy path on how I got there. Like looking back, I could tell, like, so for me, like I remember when I used to like watch the VHS tapes as a kid, my favorite part was always either like the before or the after, when they would show like the behind the scenes. Remember they used to leave that on the tapes and stuff like that. Exactly.
Remember the DVD is like main menu, play video, behind the scenes, special edition, and I click on that, director's cut.
So I would spend so much time like, and I found that I really didn't kind of care too much about like how they made the movie. I really was just looking at all the like different aspects of it. And so I could kind of see now that I've taken this path that that's kind of where that seed started. But yeah, man, I graduated in 2010, and like as graduation was coming, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wish I could say, you know, I was the guy taking photos and doing videos in high school, but I wasn't. I did music in high school. I played the trumpet. I wrote raps. I've had albums and stuff like that. And like but I knew that like that wasn't really a career as much as I loved doing it. And so I remember they came during my senior year for like a career day, and they were like pushing pharmacy school, and they gave you the whole pitch. They were like, you know, how would you like to graduate in 6 years, be a doctor, be making six figures, like whatever. And I was like, sign me up. So I applied to Xavier University of Louisiana, which is, a lot of people don't know, #1 school in the country for graduating black doctors. They have an amazing pharmacy program. So I was like, I was going, and so my mom's happy because her son's gonna, you know, go into like quote unquote medical school and stuff like that. And so I get there and I'm like, this is not what I want to do. I knew immediately this is not what I wanted to do. It's not what I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing. So I was kind of like at a crossroad. I had started working at the Apple store like right out of high school. And so I was around all of that stuff. I loved computers my whole life. I would take them apart and rebuild them based off of like how they looked when I was a kid and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, computer building, you know, so I was like, you know, Xavier didn't really have a film program at the time, which I don't even know if I would have taken advantage, but I was like, I'll do computer science. And so started doing computer science, and I quickly realized that that wasn't it for me either. And so I ended up doing like maybe like probably about a year and a half, and then ended up dropping out just due to some personal life things. I was going through a really tough time in my life, and then having some financial issues and stuff like that. And so at that time, you know, I just was kind of like, you know, being in the Apple store, this was when they were shooting all these movies in Louisiana. And so these people were coming in buying all of our hard drives and all of these laptops, and I would be having conversations selling this stuff to them. And I remember like just talking about it, and just, again, it's kind of like reigniting that flame as a kid. And so when I, you know, dropped out of college, I had some friends who were doing music, and I was always with them in the studio and stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't want to be like a studio groupie, you know what I'm saying? Like this guy that's just around. So one day I went and I was like, hey, like, you know, like, I think I want to start like messing with music videos. And they were like, all right, cool, like let's do this or whatever. And so I went, man, I ain't even had the money to buy a camera. I sold my iPad on Craigslist. Turned around, bought a camera, didn't even know what I was doing. I was like literally sitting in the studio, like Googling it, trying to figure it out. And man, just from that point on, like literally like a couple of weeks later, because New Orleans is so small, and like if you know the right people, it can happen. And so a guy by the name of Nesby Phipps, who I really kind of credit as like one of my mentors.
Wow.
He was really on the cusp of like that YouTube age and all of that stuff. He was working with an agency called Creative Control, and they were shooting all these like amazing music videos. So he kind of like, I had known him just through some other things. And so he kind of like started to take me under his wing and taught me like how to shoot B-roll and how to look at the world and things like that. And so he started just giving me opportunities. And so one day he called and he was like, hey man, Lil Wayne and Birdman and Cash Money, they're passing out turkeys for Thanksgiving. Do you want to go shoot it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so like next thing you know, I'm like 2 months in on a camera and I'm like filming for Cash Money and Lil Wayne, and like Lil Wayne's like as close as you are to me, and I'm shooting all this stuff and I'm getting all this footage, and then I'm meeting all of these people, and then and it just, from there it just progressed. And that was where I was like, man, I could really, I'm like, if I can get in these positions and I'm 2 months in and can barely even work this camera, like what can happen if I put my mind to it? And then as that progressed, man, I just kept doing music videos, ended up getting a video on 106 in Park. For the people that remember 106 in Park.
106, bro. Hey, look, for y'all don't remember 106 in Park, you just go on YouTube, bro.
Yeah, like listen,
top 10.
Listen, now I am a part of history and culture with that, man, because that is, yeah, man. So we had a video, artist by the name of LG, he did a song with Currency. We had a video that played on 106 in Park, had a video that played on MTV Jams. And so like from that point on, it was like, no matter what, man, like nobody can tell me nothing. Like I know if I can do this with where I am right now, and I'm just working off of like raw talent and stuff that I basically just picked up the camera and learned from YouTube, learned from people that were around me asking questions. I was like, man, if I really put my mind to it, we can do this. And so then fast forward, you know, all the things that just happened down the line. So
bro, I think that's amazing, bro. I think it speaks to like being aware of who's around you and what resources are around you. Just imagine if you didn't take advantage of the guys like, hey, do you want to shoot the turkeys they're handing out, and you're like, nah, I got something coming up.
Yeah, man.
We literally are 1 or 2 decisions away in our journey from accessing our dreams or our goals or our passion and vision. And the fact that you said yes, that one yes unlocked so much more for you.
Exactly.
That's so crazy.
Exactly, man. Bro. And I didn't get paid for that. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't get paid for that, and I didn't get paid for a lot of things, man. And
bro, can you speak to that as far as the time and energy and sweat investment that comes first before, like even in the starting process?
Absolutely, man. Like you just have, like, I think a lot of people now they assume that they're owed something. You know what I'm saying? And that affects their ability to look at situations for the opportunity. They just look at it based off of like, what am I getting paid for this? So I feel like I'm worth it. And trust me, it's all about that. It's all about knowing your worth. But I think that could also be a double-edged sword, because a lot of people aren't willing to put the groundwork in. They feel like, oh, like this is like whatever. I just bought a new camera, and you might have the money to invest in a new camera, or you might be able to do this, or you might have to do that, but like you still have to pay dues. You know what I'm saying? And so me running around shooting turkeys, even though it was for Lil Wayne, that was me paying my dues. That was me putting that sweat investment in. That's why when people look at me and then they say, oh, you work for the Cowboys, or oh, you did this, or oh, you did that, and it looks like it happens overnight because social media is so instant. It's not. I mean, I remember my wife that like putting money in my account because I didn't even have money to go get a haircut because I was struggling trying to get things going and trying to make this business work and stuff. And so you got to pay your dues. You know what I'm saying? It's all about knowing your worth, but you got to pay your dues. You got to be willing to put that sweat equity in and build something. Because anything that happens overnight, if I would have picked up the camera and just immediately knew everything and had all of these different like things and do what I'm doing now, it would have destroyed me, because I wouldn't have known how to handle it. Every step was God preparing me for the next step, and I couldn't skip steps, no matter how hard it was, no matter how difficult it was, no matter how sad I got about certain things. I couldn't skip steps, because you get to a point, everybody done been building something from IKEA. That's why I hate IKEA, because you put something together, you screw it. That's why they tell you don't screw it in all the way. They tell you make sure, because you screw the stuff in and then you get 3 steps down the line and you realize, oh no, it didn't go in that hole, it's supposed to go over there. So now you got to undo everything that you did and redo it. And so that's the thing, man. Like in your journey, like you got to realize like you can't skip steps. Even when you want a step that you're like, dang, this step sucks. Still can't skip it. You still got to get through it, man. So, bro,
that's huge. That's pivotal because I'm a believer of if you work the process will work for you.
Absolutely.
Like I always believe that. I have conversations with friends. I'm like, bro, do you have a process? Do you see what you're trying to do? Do you see the next step? If you work the process will work for you. If you don't have a process, then you're gonna be scatterbrained and you won't know which way is up and which way is down.
Absolutely.
And then you won't be able to know how to say no. Can you talk about? And we'll get into you have worked for the Cowboys and some people that you work for and all that. But can you talk about in your process how many times you had to say yes in order to earn the right to say no?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, man. I had to do a lot of stuff, man. I remember I used to work for this dance competition, man. And that was like my first time making real money behind the camera. And then when I tell people, yeah, I was a videographer for this dance competition, we were traveling every 3 days because we would go set up in these different cities, set up this dance competition, and I would film like, you know, some weekends I'd film 1,200 dance routines. I heard Let It Go, Frozen, like way too many times to count. And so like, cause these were like kids as young as like,
that's wild,
4 or 5 all the way up to like seniors in high school.
So you can pretty much probably sing it line by line at this point.
Oh yeah, but I ain't gonna
ask you to sing it though. You good, bro?
So man, I found this job, like, man, and I started doing this, but it was a hard job, man. I would get my 40-hour work week in from Friday to Sunday because I was working 16, 17-hour days, just sitting and not creative, not like, oh man, like get these angles, like I'm literally sitting in this auditorium with the camera on a tripod, just following these kids across the stage. Wow. You know what I'm saying? A very far cry from the amazing things that I did down the line, but again, I needed to do that. I needed to understand that discipline. I needed to understand that every hour that I spent there was an hour towards my, you know, what is it, 10,000 hours to be an expert at something? So every hour spent, like you have to have that hunger. You have to have that drive of like every hour, that's what was driving me was that, man, this is just another hour spent towards my 10,000 hours. You know what I'm saying? And so that really what it is, man. Like I mean, I can tell you, man, I done been in some stuff where it's like, again, it's easy to look at the stuff on social media to highlight real living, even myself, and say, oh, you did this, or you were here, or you were that. Man, I done did some stuff that I would rather not talk about, you know what I'm saying? Because it sucked, it was boring, I didn't get paid, or you know what I'm saying, or it didn't look good or anything like that. Like, man, but I just never neglected that, and I just thank God for always giving me the vision for the bigger plan that he had to just keep moving forward, man. That's the thing. So many times we live in a world too, like quitting is easier than ever.
Yo, yes.
Like everything is designed for you. There's no more contracts, not even with your cell phone. I remember like 10 years ago, you had to sign a 2-year contract with your phone, and you couldn't switch services. Now, you don't even do that. Like, if you look around, everybody has a way out of everything. So that makes quitting easier than everything. So now what that's done is that's birthed a society of people who, the minute things get hard, I'm out. I'm gonna go to the next thing. Maybe this ain't for me. Maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should jump to the next profession. Maybe I should try this. Though there's money in real estate, let me go do this. Oh, let me go do that.
Get my Bitcoin up,
exactly. And nobody wants to. And what happens is you put 100 hours here, and then you move away, and then you go put 100 hours here, and then you never become that expert at anything. You're just bouncing around from wave to wave to wave. And so that's one of the things I just kind of look around and see, not everybody, but I see a majority of people who are just like, the minute it's tough, I'm out because I can be.
Yo, man, I think it's so pivotal for people to understand, like, if you have a process and you have patience and you have guidance, mentorship is huge. That is going to help mitigate a lot of that wasted energy, a lot of that 100 hours here, 100 hours there. I think, bro, it's a huge point. You mentioned that you work for the Cowboys, right? Walk us through how that came about.
Okay, yeah, so it's funny because it's always kind of like a anticlimactic story.
Okay.
Like, because I just found it on Google. Like, I wish I could say like Jerry called me like a draft story, but it didn't happen that way. Man, I moved to Dallas in 2014, man. My wife was out here, I moved out here, and I was working for a church. I started working for a church, big time church. I mean, we were shooting on like $70,000 cameras, and the pastor was on Netflix, and so I was doing high-end production, but I was kind of ready for the next thing, and so I just was kind of looking around for jobs. And what people really don't know is that I applied to the Cowboys when I was looking for a job when I first moved to Texas in 2014 and got denied. They actually told me no, and so I just kind of spent that 4 years at the church building my resume, learning a lot more, because I had the raw talent from like just learning myself, but then that was kind of the environment where I could just kind of pick up some more professional things.
Right.
And so, man, I just, I would Google jobs every day, and then the Cowboys popped up, and so I was like, I'm an Eagles fan. So I was like, whatever, like, let me see what happens. And so they called me back, man, and then like it was just like instant connection. And I think, man, I want to say, I don't want to quote the number wrong, but I want to say like I beat out like 150 something candidates or something like that. And I had never had any sports experience. Just a testament to God, man, of like, if he wants you somewhere, it don't matter what's up against you, bro, because.
How many candidates again?
I want to say it was like 150 something candidates. I might be like undershooting it too, but there was a lot of people, man. But once it was like, once we went in there and they were telling me, they were like, well, you don't have any sports experience or whatever. And like, I remember looking the guy, like, the guy who's my boss in the face, and I said, I could promise you one thing. I said, I might not be the person in the room that knows the most, but nobody's gonna outwork me. And so they just kind of had to take a step back. And then that ended up being kind of my biggest strength in that spot, is because I had a very different approach than a lot of the other sports-minded candidates who were coming in and was like, well, this is what we did at this team, or this is what this team was doing. I didn't do that. I came and I was like, I saw this music video that was cool. Can we do a video like this? Or, hey, I saw this movie. Some of my best videos, the videos I won Emmys for, were like from movie ideas or from music video ideas. You know what I'm saying? Like not what another sports team was doing. So yeah, man, it was just a blessing, man. Like God just opened an amazing door that I had no clue was happening.
That's wild. And navigating and working for the Cowboys, what was some of your like most fun moments or like things you learned in that process working?
Man, some of the most fun was just like traveling, man, just getting to know those guys and getting to build those relationships with them and telling those stories. That was always my biggest thing, is that I wanted people to and I would tell them this. I would say I could show videos of you catching touchdowns or getting sacks all day long. I said, but that's not going to help build your brand. I said, people want to know who you are. They want to know your story. So everything that I did was about telling the story, and the guys appreciated that and they respected me for that. And so obviously just being able to just travel around with the team, go to the games. I don't care how big your TV screen is. There's nothing that can beat watching the game from the end zone. Like, from like literally like your foot's on the boundary line, you know what I mean? And so that was awesome, man. But just, man, I just learned a lot about like the power that we hold as creatives, you know what I'm saying? Because here I was, Jerry wasn't over my shoulder looking at every video that I'm creating. We're making stuff, and one of my really good friends, her name's Dana, she was the social coordinator, and we grew tight and just creating, but like a lot of times it was just me and her just doing things. So I learned about the power that creatives have about telling the story, because a lot of times I just make a video, send it to Dana. She might get it approved by a couple of people, but I held a lot of power as far as like what was being told, like what was being posted and what story was being told on the internet and social media. So
wow. And how long were you with the Cowboys?
I was with the Cowboys for 2 seasons. So and then I left in 2020 after the pandemic started. Got you.
And so in time working with the Cowboys and all that, how did you navigate, because now you're a full-time entrepreneur, how did you navigate some of those tensions of working for an organization, exiting and still having aspirations to go full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is a lot of people, they either, they want to jump into the freelance world or they want to start their own thing because they're like frustrated with a job. I feel like that's probably like number one reason. They think that being a freelancer or a business owner means that nobody tells you what to do, which is in a sense true, but you still have clients who are like kind of like mini bosses. I do find that there's a little bit more respect there, but it's not just like you get to wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning every day and do whatever you want to do. But for me, it was just realizing that, man, my ceiling is what it is here. Like, I was getting paid a certain salary, and yes, I would get, bonuses or raises every year, but they're not going to ultimately
maximize
they're not going to ever pay me. You know what I'm saying? It's designed for the house to win. They're never going to be able to pay me what I'm worth, because if they paid everybody what they're worth, then that's not how companies work or make money. So I knew that, like, man, what I'm making, that's my ceiling. But I just would look at myself in the mirror and say, man, I can go out here. If I can give Jerry Jones 40 hours a week, I can give myself 40 hours a week, and then there is no ceiling. You know what I'm saying? I could hustle. Whether it's $250,000, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, there's no cap. For them, it's like, man, I'm giving you all these hours and my check is the same every week because I'm a salaried employee. So for me, it was just that growing discomfort of like, man, I'm just giving so much of my time to building somebody else's thing. I didn't want to look back on my life and realize, yes, I did amazing projects for all these amazing clients and companies, but what do you have for your namesake? What do you have for your legacy? And so that was the biggest thing, man.
Yo, bro, I think that's so huge when you said, they would cap your return on investment. You would spend hours and hours, but you realize, hey, look, I got something more to give. Yo, talk to the faith component of the amount of faith it took for you personally. Some of the moments that you like, you know what? I don't know if I could do this, or even speak to those who may be in a moment right now. They might be doubting their process. Maybe they're in that tension window of working for an organization, but they have their own desire to grow their own thing. Yo, where did faith come in at for you?
Faith is everything, man, because I remember, so when I left the Cowboys, I didn't fully go freelance. I started working for Demarcus Ware and I did all his content, and I was kind of like one foot in my thing and one foot in his. And I remember it was the same thing that was happening, where it's like, all right, I'm building a lot of your stuff and I'm not building mine. And I remember I started looking at jobs, and a job with the Rams had opened up, and I was contemplating that. And I remember I was driving home one day and the Lord said, what are you waiting on to do what I called you to do?
Wow.
And I knew exactly what he was talking about as far as building this production company. So I called my wife and I was like, babe, I said, I'm not looking for any more jobs. I said, it's time. And she said, are you sure? Like, she was like,
hey,
sure?
why you gonna double check you? Like, no,
and I love her for that, man, because
what that means.
She's watching my back. But I said, babe, I said, people always ask what it's like when God speaks to you. You can't really explain it because it's not exactly like audible talking here, but you just feel it in your spirit. And I said, yeah, babe, I'm sure. And I remember I was driving as I was getting closer to this decision, and I remember the Lord, he dropped in my spirit the scripture, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or their seed begging for bread. And I just knew that if I trusted him every step of the way, that I would never have to, even if the phone wasn't ringing, because my clientele was kind of slow when I jumped out. And that was what my wife was saying. She was like, well, maybe, people have been kind of finicky. Do you want to wait? And do you want to build? I said, no, we have to do it now. The day after I left Demarcus, I told him, hey, man, I'm going to do this thing full time. My phone started ringing and it hasn't stopped ringing since.
Bro. And it hasn't stopped ringing since. So, come on, faith. Obedience, bro.
But people have to know, man, and people will give me that credit. They'll give me that glory. Oh, well, you're so talented, of course. Oh, well, you have all these awards, of course. Oh, well, you worked hard, of course. I can't do anything, bro. If I woke up tomorrow and the Lord decided to stop giving me visions for videos, or stop giving me ideas, or I forget how to use a computer, I'm useless. I tell people all the time, it is all of him and none of me. I can never take the credit for a thing. name.
Yo.
It's not, yes, it's tough because I have my resume and my name is attached to it, but it is all God, man. I can't go out there and make anybody call my phone. I can't go out there and make anybody work with me. It is all God, man, and I just can't stress that enough.
Bro, I think there's a active ingredient of humility in you, bro, and everything that you're sharing. That, you know, people get through these highs. Some of the names that you work with, the Demarcus Wares and the Dak Prescotts and Lil Wayne, and I feel like moments where we forget are not only humble beginnings, but like that fact that God is doing all of this. He's really he just happens to choose to use me, and so that keeps you humble. That keeps you like literally reality check. Like, yo, tomorrow this could stop.
Yes.
Where would I be? So
exactly.
Everything keeping up to him, and then he's opening these doors, bro.
100%.
I think that's amazing, bro. And I think it's a huge reminder of, yo, humility is everything. I was having a conversation with my friends, and I was saying, take humility and you take gratitude and you take contentment. If you put those three together, there's nothing that will ever shake you. If you're content, that means you won't want something that is not yours.
Speak about
If you
it.
always have gratitude, that means that no matter how high or low you get, you're always thankful. And so you're always willing to help someone else out.
Yeah.
Bro, and then if you're patient, bro, if you got the patience, bro, that means you will go at your pace. You won't be swiping on social media. You won't be looking at the next thing like, I should be there. You will be on your own timeline with you and God. And it just makes you human. Like, nobody wants people stuck up. I think some time ago, you spoke to being able to show the human sides of these athletes, humanizing them, making sure you told their stories. And I think that's big, bro. I think that's huge.
I love that. I love that, man. I'm gonna make sure I keep that on a sticky note or something for me,
sure.
man. That's a good foundation to build on.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Tyrell here. Look, host of Perspective. Y'all, this season we got an amazing lineup for y'all. Every episode is going to be presented to you by Vision Studios. You might be asking, what is Vision Studios? Vision Studios is a media production company that I created at the end of last year. And so we're going to be offering you, whether it's consulting or whether connecting you with other creatives, whether you're a client or a creative, it'll be a place where you can connect, find clientele, also find creators that can help do work, whatever the case may be. But yeah, every single episode is going to be brought to you by Vision Studios. I'm super excited about the season, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hopefully you're changing the world around you. Peace. Yo, bro, we got to get into this book right here.
Yes, sir.
Money Talks, How to Confidently Price Your Work by Kerry Lofton.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yo, so when you went full-time entrepreneurial and you have a company now, can you share a little bit about like the name of your company and what you do, and then kind of talk about how does this book come about for you?
Yeah, man. So film company is Inspired Dreams Film Group, man, and that's just a name that I kind of came up when I started back in 2011. Just kind of going, I was like, oh, it's just kind of sound cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would have a lot of dreams, and like it sounds, people might not understand, but like I will get visions in my dreams sometimes of like projects and things like that. So it's kind of like those dreams inspired by God. So like Inspired Dreams and stuff like that. And then now my new imprint, which I'm publishing the book under, is For the Dreamers. And so, it's just kind of a same thing, but a little bit different and things like that. So yeah, it's for me, it's just as I was, I'm very vocal on social media. I'm very open and things like that. And so I just, was very open about like pricing and struggles. And I remember we did this back during quarantine. We did this like live where we were talking about pricing, and I collaborated with this other creative, and people just loved it. And I think from that moment on, I just kind of became the money guy to a lot of people. And so next thing you know, man, I'm probably having the money conversation with people probably 4 to 5 times a week, like getting DMs where like, hey, can you help me price this? Like, how do you do this? And so I really kind of set out, like, I didn't expect to have a full-blown book. Everybody that like knows me, they're like, I didn't expect this. I was like, I didn't either. And I really just set out to write like a little 10-page PDF e-guide that I could just send to people when I wasn't even gonna charge them for it. I just was like, I just didn't want to write the same DM over and over again.
Because we had a convo like before you went on vacation, even the book, he's like, hey, I might have a book coming out soon, because I sent you my little overview like, yo, this is pricing.
Exactly. So
and you were like, I'm actually coming out with a book soon.
Exactly, man. So it was like, I just was like, man, I just want to give people this information and help empower my peers. And I sat down and started writing, and then next thing you know, I had 8,000 words, and I was like, well, this is much longer than a, you know, ebook. And I've always wanted to write a book. I've always had that kind of write. I remember I was very gifted in English. When I first got to college, my English teacher read my first paper, and he tried to convince me to become an English major. And so I always had that desire to write a book, even if that wasn't like my career. And so I was like, man, let's do this. And so I came up with the branding, came up with the name, came up with the design, and I was like, we're gonna do this. Let's do this all the way. And I really like that idea of having something physical I can give to people. The look of it, it's like a guide that people can put in their bag, and they can read it at a coffee shop, or they can pull it up whenever they need to revisit the information, man. So yeah, this is something, man, I think is gonna help a lot of people really clear up some of the confusion and step into a new level of confidence.
Bro, with the evaluation piece, because I mean, one of the conflicts I had was people truly understanding all that goes into a process when it comes to whether it's prospecting for lighting folks, or for what's one of your favorite chapters of the book that you think will help creatives or anybody accurately evaluate themselves and how to give that to others?
Really, chapter 1, man. Chapter 1 is know your worth, and that's the longest chapter in the book, because I think before you can ever ask for whatever your price is, you have to believe that you're worth it. And that's one of the common threads that I see talking to a lot of people. When I come to them and they're like, and that's why I say this book is not just for creatives either, because I've helped trainers, I've helped dancers, I've helped hairstylists, I've helped a lot of people set their prices just by the information in this book. So it's not as simple as saying, oh, you're a videographer, you should be charging X amount of dollars. Like, it's not that easy, because there are way too many factors. But what I find is that people need to learn how to take stock of themselves, their experience, what they bring to the table uniquely, all of these different things to look at. And then you can look at the field that you're in and say, okay, cool. Like, an average person with my experience is making, you know, whatever, they make $50 an hour. But I know I'm bringing double to the table, so I'm going to charge $100 an hour. It really becomes quite simple. But when I tell people, you know, I could look at somebody and say, yo, you know, you should be charging like $1,500 a day, and they might be charging like $600 a day for whatever the profession it is, and they can't believe it. But I'm like, yo, there's people out here that are doing it. You know what I'm saying?
And people are paying.
Exactly. So confidence is key. And so I tell people, there's a quote in the book that I said, the goal is not a big payday. Like, there's more than money at stake. That will come. I say, but confidence is the goal from this book. I want people to walk away from this book with more confidence, because that tree is going to bear a whole lot more fruit, including money. And then there's things that are way more important than money anyway. So really, it's just number one, man, I want people to really reread that chapter as many times it takes to realize, like, you bring value to every situation that you're in.
Man, yo, I love the know your value is tied to your own confidence. How many times can we think about times where our value, we took like someone else externally, we compared, oh, I see them, and this is going to be my valuation. Hey, you know, maybe that CPA, maybe they deal with 100 clients their tax season. Well, I deal with 100. Well, my value is equal. No, you might have a whole different type of set of services and skills that you have for your clients, and your valuation is not. So 100%. That external comparison, it cheapens and also discounts our own value. If we just stop comparing and think about, no, this is what I bring, the uniqueness I bring.
It's a double-edged sword, because you have to kind of look at the world that you're in. You obviously can't go too far above what everybody else is doing, but you still have to like take that into account, man. So there's a lot of info in there just helping people see and look and say, okay, this is how I keep an eye on my industry, but this is also how I don't allow it to become my overall image.
Wow, bro. Can you share where your book is going to be either like sold or found, any like release date information, anything you want to share with the good people out there who are watching with us?
Yeah, so book is being officially released on April 28th. Pre-orders right now, we just did, man, 100 pre-orders the first week.
Wow.
We sold 100 books actually in less than a week, man. And
congrats,
so
bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. When you realize how hard it is to sell, man, like I was on like the self-publishing Reddits, and they were talking about like, you know, how many books have you guys sold? And people were like, oh, I sold, you know, my book's been out for 3 years. I sold 20 copies. I sold 40 copies. I sold 50 copies. And so to sell over 100 in the first less than a week is just amazing, man. So it's available on my website, kerrylofton.com.
Okay.
It will be available on Amazon soon. We're going to do Audible. We're gonna have the ebook. I mean, it's gonna be, working on getting it in Barnes and Noble, local bookshops, coffee shops, everywhere, man. Bestseller, that's the goal, man.
Hey, I believe
that's
it'll be a bestseller, bro. I can't wait to get,
I appreciate that.
buy my copy. I'm definitely gonna buy my copy. By the time this airs, I know your event would have already happened.
Yeah.
But bro, are you excited about the book release event?
I'm excited, man, because my birthday is the 28th, so that's why I was very strategic about this. My birthday is the 28th. We partying it up on the 29th, man. It's gonna be amazing. We got sponsors. We got lots of family and friends that are just coming, man, to just support me. And I've had several people say like, "Yo, we not letting you leave with no books. Like you selling out. Like I don't care
how many
we gotta buy." So it's man. So just to see that outpouring, man, it's just been amazing, man. And so I'm just very appreciative. So and just to see where we at, really a month from now, 2 months from now, and when we've sold thousands of units, and this book is changing lives.
Favorite work, some of your favorite work that you've done and who you've done it with. And you can just name off some and what it was. Yeah.
Definitely, probably this Rocket League project I did with. I got to work with all of these different guys from different teams. So I got to work with Devontae Smith, Cam Jordan from the Saints, George Kittle from the 49ers, McCole Hardman from the Chiefs. So that was good because I got to kind of do more than just for one team, for sure. Let's see, what else? I did this like squad reveal when I was with the Cowboys for the cheerleaders to reveal the squad. And that was when I told you like the idea came from the movie Birdman. We did this one take shot with the girls.
Okay.
Like so that was really, really cool. And like a lot of people loved that video. Man, what else? Those are probably my top two, man. Anything where I could just get to exercise my vision and create, it's a good day.
Fail moment. Gotta share a fail moment. Maybe you got to a set and then you're like, oh, I left a lens, or maybe like, or you know what, I definitely should have priced that differently. Like, what's a lesson moment?
I got the perfect one. I will never ever forget another memory card, because I remember when I was in New Orleans, just getting started, and I was working with this guy who he went up to this radio station. He had a radio station interview. He called me up. He's like, Kerry, come get some footage. We go to the biggest radio station in New Orleans, Q93. We get there. I get up the steps, get to the thing. I don't have a memory card in the camera. They blasted me on the radio. They're like, what's your name? Kerry Lofton. The cameraman forgot the memory card on the biggest radio station in New Orleans. So I don't care what I forget, I will never forget a memory card ever again.
Oh my gosh. Man, this has been an amazing episode, bro. I appreciate you coming to hang out.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Y'all, book Money Talks, How to Confidently Price Your Work. Make sure you cop that book. I'll put the information in the description of the video. This has been an amazing conversation, bro. Amazing moment to learn a little bit about your perspective. Don't forget, y'all, like, subscribe, share this. If this was helpful to you, helpful for anyone else you think it would be a tool to apply to your toolbox that'll help you impact and change the world around you, we hope it did, and that's the goal. Again, I'm your host, Tyra Patterson. It's my guest, Kerry Lofton, DP Creative Genius. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Bro, talk to me about just the importance, or just what it's like navigating your relationship with your wife, as you navigate being a full-time entrepreneur. Like, how does that dynamic impact your household and just y'all's marriage?
Man, it's so necessary. It's crazy too, because she's an accountant, so she can handle the money and all that stuff. But man, just having that like prayer aspect, knowing to have somebody like watch my back and stuff like that when I just need it, man. That's just been the best part of like, there's been many a times where I've gone in her office in the process of writing this book, or I'm working on a big project, and I just lay on her floor and I'm like, sometimes I cry, sometimes I let out of my frustration, and she's able to really kind of keep me grounded, man. So like, this book wouldn't have happened without her, because I've almost canned it probably 10 times, and she's talked me down and like, yo, like, remember your purpose, remember God called you to do this, so he's gonna get you through it and stuff like that. So it's been a good dynamic. It's not really, if I have to travel, when I was working with the Cowboys, I had to leave for 3 weeks at a time for training camp every year. She's been very supportive, even though I know she misses me and she wishes I was at home. She's never made me feel bad about going and do what I had to do. So it's just been, I think I'd be 20 steps behind had it not been for God using her in my life.
Bro, having the right spouse, right?
Yes.
Having the right type
Look,
of spouse.
listen. There's more to it than like a nice body and a nice smile, man. I think people really don't take the time to really look at, like, you know, you see a woman that looks attractive, but can she pray for you? You know what I'm saying? But can she hold you down? Can she get you through some? Can she be God? You know, help be God's voice in your life when you're going through some storms and stuff like that. Like,
can she double check the numbers?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, man, like I feel for this generation, man, because their stock for spouses are in complete on both sides, for men and women.
Yeah.
It's in all the wrong stuff, man, because you could have the best looking girl on your arm, but she don't know how to pray over her food or bless the food at the table. And you could have the nice dude that drives a nice car, but his life is not submitted to the Lord. And so that's a whole can of worms that you're gonna have to open up.